Welcome everybody to today's episode of Tweeds, Sip, and Style. Today I am joined by an amazing guest, Ryan Listerman. Ryan works primarily in sales, but he also has his own company, Selling University, which is awesome. And then also he does sales of construction. Am I right there?
Yeah, I have a construction company and I have my own sales company.
They're both yours. Yeah,
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first question for you. How long have you been selling for?
I've been selling ever since I was in the third grade, and I really wanted. You remember Pogs? Are you old enough to remember Pogs?
Oh yeah.
I really wanted this certain Pog, and I was trying to negotiate a trade with my friend to get. It was like a limited edition because he had like these certain Pogs that had a cool design to them.
Yeah.
And I had to like give up half a stack of Pogs, but I got it off them. So yeah, that was one it was the first deal I ever made happen.
The first deal ever closed.
Yeah.
Were you like? Did you like evolve that into like one of those kids like selling like candy or selling cards or selling sodas?
No, I wasn't.
Whatever?
I wasn't flipping gas station candy.
Yeah.
So no, but I was always trying to. I was always good at getting into trouble, but not getting the consequences for trouble. And I think that was like the early sales skills to lever. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Get persuasion. Kind of emotional intelligence. Learned that at an early age.
You were good at getting what you want.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
That's ultimately what sales is being good at getting what you want. Kids are some of the best salesmen.
Hell yeah. I always got the newest game system, I was like, I was wheeling and dealing.
100%. Cool.
Yeah.
So you've been selling since then. What was your first real sales job like?
Yeah, I during high school, I started to get into the trades a little bit. Realized I hated working for a living.
Yeah.
Like doing real work at a shop or on a construction site was awful. So I got into sales with a little company, a little startup called Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Yeah, they got into an account management role. Where you basically have a route of stores, and your responsibility is to keep them stocked, keep them, get incremental sales, kind of represent the brand. Essentially, it's a corporate sales job.
Sure.
Which was my kind of taste of sales. It's corporate sales. You tend to be very salary heavy with bonus structure. So it's like, you're not necessarily overly incentivized. Where you are incentivized, but you're not like your paycheck isn't necessarily taking big swings each week. So you're kind of being micromanaged, but you're also learning a lot about the fundamentals of sales. And that's what I did for the first 12 years of my career.
Yeah, so you're essentially not you were capped a little bit in that first role, but then as you kind of evolved, how did you what made you want to get into start your own company? Where'd that inspiration come from?
It started with eventually. What happened was in that type of structure, I got kind of bored.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like you're making like the same money most years, and maybe a 3 or 4% bump here or there, and then over the years it was just got stale, and I really started to slough off, and I needed a major change. So I went through my midlife crisis when I was 30.
Yeah.
And I just quit my job on a whim. For a second, I was going to try to be a professional poker player, and that didn't work. So I got into commission sales.
Yeah.
And I got into construction commission sales. So that was like my first commission sales job. I was looking at cars, insurance, and construction. And reason I picked construction sales was I could wear jeans every day. So I was tired of wearing khakis, with Coca-Cola all the time, and then insurance and auto was another khaki job. So I'm like, let's do jeans. So I had no interest. I had no background really in construction, no interest in construction, but I want to wear jeans every day. I went in. It was one of those systems, like high pressure, one called closed systems, where they kind of spend a week training you, and then they throw you to the wolves, and you either sell or you don't. Yeah. And fortunately, my first lead I went on, I closed. Got my biggest individual paycheck of my life at that time, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
And then I just had a banger of a first year with them, and loved commission sales. Probably it helped that I got that taste early, got that early bump.
Yeah, 100%.
So they kept, but then I had the sophomore slump, which is everything was coming easy, and then all of a sudden, the season kind of ended, and things were a little bit slower, and I wasn't getting deals, and I went, from having the biggest paychecks of my life to going a month without a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then I was started to kind of look at different things, but I eventually left that company for another opportunity, and then I did the same thing, but more in a management role at a smaller company. And then what happened is then I moved down here to Florida, and once I was here, I was with I found a small company that I grew, and the more I grew it through my sales, the more I got leadership opportunities.
Yeah.
And then I took those leadership opportunities, learned more about the operational business side of sales, and that's where I kind of ended up now today, where I own my own sales company, and I also am a part owner in a construction company.
Nice.
Kind of selling it is what got me there.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think enough people realize how much money you can make in sales. I mean, sales is one of the greatest professions on the planet. 100%. And the cool thing about it is there's no barrier to entry. Meaning you don't need a degree to come in and sell. You just need to be personable.
Yeah, no, I don't have a college degree, and I make more than most MBAs easily.
Yep, same.
It's just one of those things where and I don't have to work for a living. It's great. I just talk.
Yeah, talk.
I don't have to do the real labor, the real hard stuff. The guys up on the roof or in the construction site or making the clothes. And
I think the beauty of it is that you're not, blue collar, white collar. There's certainly. I think with certain jobs, there's a natural decline with physical labor. With sales and, with anything sales related, I think you're only going to get better as you progress and as you get older. Once you hit 45, 50, that decline that may happen in a physical job is not going to happen, in a sales job, which I think is something really, really amazing for some people to consider. Yeah. You only get better at this, and as time progresses,
your pipeline compounds on itself. So if you're staying in one lane, staying in one area, you're going to kind of naturally, increase your volume over the years. Where it's you have eventually you get to a point where, and that's what kind of happened to me, is my pipeline becomes my base, where it's I kind of just every day I'm going to get a certain amount just for existing and executing.
Just for executing on past
gives me
jobs.
the time to start to branch out in other opportunities, because it's I know, that 60-hour sales job turns into 30 hours, and now I got that extra 30 hours to spend on something else.
Yep. Sales is definitely a good compound interest career field where you're like you said, your pipeline is going to compound over itself year over year. You're going to get more clients, and more of those clients are going to come back each year, which is incredible. Tell me some sales tactics that you like to employ, psychology or something that some tips for younger guys out there who are just getting into sales, anything that, comes to mind there.
Well, first thing I would say is I always tell people sales is a hard way to make an easy living.
Yeah.
So once you get it going, it's an easy job, but most people in this profession tend to it's a common known statistic that maybe about 15 to 20% of all sales people make about 80 to 90% of all the commissions. Yeah. Which means that most of the people coming in tend to come in one door, not the other. Yeah. It's hard to kind of get off the ground, but a few tips are, I would say to someone new, is survival. Just try to make it through that first year. Find a way to supplement your income while you get acquainted to commission sales. Keep that hourly gig while you try to sell the rest of the day. Maybe selling during the day and you're working at a sandwich shop in the evening or something like that. Just to keep yourself, keep your core bills paid, keep your expenses down. Those big commission checks, I've made the mistake of taking those big commission checks and spending them. Save them, because you're going to get, especially your first couple of years, you're going to be very streaky. You're going to have really hot months, and then you're going to be completely cold other months. And because you're really not that good yet, things come in streaks. So the better you are, the more the streaks will just kind of level themselves out.
Yeah, the more consistent you'll get.
Yeah. So I would say to someone new. So this is something I've kind of learned about sales these last few years, and this is more I'd say more of a polarizing topic, is that most people are bad at sales fundamentally. People don't really understand what they're doing in sales. And I usually can sniff it out with one. I've really learned it recently with my sales company, because I started doing like lead generating for people, and then I kind of stopped that because I realized for the most part, most of my clients weren't, good salespeople. So I turned it into more of a full cycle sales system. That's a different topic. How I sniff out a bad salesperson is when I ask them what a lead is. For you, what do you think a lead is?
For me, it's a prospect who is interested in your service, your idea. Maybe not even, they might not even need to be interested. They just need to potentially like you and like your service.
Yeah. Like, would you say that just someone that walks in, maybe touches the clothes a little bit, walks out, would you say that's a lead?
Somebody who walks in, touches the clothes a little bit, and doesn't talk to me at all, and doesn't...
Or just even comes in, yeah.
Just walks in and walks out?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that's a lead.
Okay. I think we're kind of on the same page, because I feel like anyone that, to me, a lead is someone that has remote interest, is a warm body, and has a credit card. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Like at that point, they're a lead, and then it's on me as a salesperson to create value and create a sense of urgency.
100%.
What I've learned from lead generating is most people view a lead as, this is a lead to most the sales people is, well, I want them to have this kind of income. I want them to meet this criteria. I want them to have already have some buying signals like that, this and this. Most salespeople actually just want an order. They want to take an order. They don't necessarily want to, you throw them, you throw a guy like you and me, someone with some faint interests and a little money in their pocket, we're going to find a way to create a deal. Yeah. We're going to create that interest, create that value. Whereas most people are going to just look at it like, oh, that's not a lead. Yeah. They didn't come in and tell me what they wanted. Yeah, 100%. That's just a tire kicker. It's always like, oh, that's a tire kicker. They're not actually, it's like no one, to quote the great Glengarry Glen Ross, like no one walks in off, on the lot unless they want to buy. No one walks in the store unless they
and the reason I say, somebody walks in, touches clothes and walks out, because I think I know where you're going with that. And they're not a lead is because they made no effort to, or it was just so quick and so fast that we didn't even capture information. Yeah. It was just in and out. So there's no.
Well, yeah, you didn't capture.
I have to capture information.
Well, yeah, you got to capture information. Obviously.
Yeah. So if I captured information and they walked in, I 100%. Yeah. Anybody who walks on the lot, anybody who walks in the store, is 100%.
How in retail or in clothing, because I know when someone walks in, how quickly are you to try to engage them and try to get something? Because I know that's always one of those things. I hear that a lot in clothing is people are always like, well, I don't want to pester people or I don't want to and I've always been again, that's another one of those things. Well, you're not a salesperson where it's like if someone, I guess how quickly do you jump on someone?
Pretty quick, welcome them in. And I don't like the traditional approach where it's like, what are you looking for? Yeah. That's an immediate question that a lot of guys ask. I don't like that. I personally want to get somebody's name instantly. What's your name? My name's TJ, and shake their hand and start to create that connection immediately. Yeah. Because if your first question out of your mouth is when somebody walks onto your lot or into your store, the first question out of your mouth is, what are you looking for? It's immediate sales resistance.
100%.
Immediate, just looking, checking. Yeah. You're going to give you that every single time. You're going to get just looking every single time. Yeah. And if you're able to get on a personal basis with them, get their first name, and also just start to build that relationship by shaking their hand and finding out a little bit more about them, and then continuing down that for a few minutes, and then you could start, just uncovering what their needs might be by showing up here.
Yeah, that's that part. Yeah, I had an early sales trainer in one of my sales roles where he actually referenced the clothing industry as where he would kind of change their approach because he's like, I just hate it when I walk in the store and they, can I help you? It's like, oh, I hate that. It's like, no, you can't. Obviously you can't. Yeah. It's like, he's like, if I had a clothing store, literally someone walk in and be like, oh my gosh, you know what you'd look great in? These, they'd start he'd point out things. He'd already kind of an expertise in what he'd want to put the person in. And it sounds like that's the approach. Because I feel like if someone walks in, they need your help. That's why they walked in. If you can help them, if you're asking them, can I help you? Then it's like, well, why are they here? Because if they know what they want, they would just go where they want. They're not even wandering in. They would have called you up ahead of time, like, hey, set me at 1 o'clock. I'm coming in to get this, this, and this. And I need my measurements. They wouldn't even wander in your store. So they're wandering in because like, oh, this is interesting, and I might want some one of these. And then all of a sudden you get the expert that's like, hey, you know what, you would look great in this. And if we did that, you would probably feel a lot better.
100%. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I'm kind of curious about your, lead generation side of things. Like, what is it that you're doing, with Selling University and, with your construction company? It sounds like you help people get more sales. So tell me a little bit more about that and what you're doing to generate leads for sales guys that you're working with.
Yeah, so Selling University has a product. I call it DAM, Dials, Appointments, Meetings, and Now. We do it now, not yesterday, but right now. What we do is I built a outbound cold call center, which is not a sexy term, but it's still a cool or fundamental sales tool. All I've done is instead of having the the giant office from the 80s with all the landline phones and everyone with the headsets just dialing away, it's all digital, it's all remote. Everyone works for me. Most of my employees are with 1,000 miles away or more from me. We do I do an outbound cold call campaign for my clients, but I do full cycle. And what that means is say you're, TJ, the software company. And I would meet with you first, try to understand who your ICP is, who your ideal client profile is, meaning who's your best customer, who's your highest margin customer. But, because to the point of being the expert, you might not realize who your ICP is. You might have the wrong ICP right now. You might be targeting the wrong people. So we talk first. I might identify a better ICP. And then if I do, we will then build out the target list. So I actually I use a bunch of different data platforms that I have access to scrape and build out a contact list of 2,000 to 3,000 people, all for relatively inexpensive. I could then, most people might build out that list and hand it to you, and then you don't know what to do with it. Like, call these people, great. How long it takes to manually dial 3,000 people. Yeah. Weeks. I plug it in, but what I've done is built out a very efficient system where like those leads go right into a predictive dialer. I have people that are on the predictive dialer that they basically at the start of the day, they hit start, a name pops up, and they start talking to them. As soon as that phone call's over, they start talking to another person. While they're talking, the dials are going out there, so it's just kind of, it filters through all the bad numbers, all the uninterested numbers, and then so just my talented outbound cold callers are strictly having conversations all day. Right now, I've got it up to one individual cold caller is making about 130, 140 dials an hour. Wow. So that's how you kind of like, turn a list of 3,000 into, to use the old adage, sales is a number game, which is kind of correct in the standpoint, like, yeah, you do have to have a lot of output to get success in that kind of space when you're cold outreaching. So that's what I've tried to do is make it the most efficient way as possible to get the most out of individual hour a day.
Yeah, I hate when I see, and I get where some of these guys are coming from that are saying this, but I hate when I hear, sales is not a numbers game, it's a skills game. And I completely agree, it is a skills game, but I also disagree in the sense that it's not a numbers game. Yeah. Because it's both.
Yeah.
Everything is both.
Yeah.
You ever heard the old adage, work harder, not smarter, work smarter, not harder. Yeah. I think personally, it's both in every field. If you can figure out how to make $4,000 in an hour, and why would you stop there?
Yeah.
Why would you stop there? Why wouldn't you go and do that for 12 hours a day every single day, or 16 hours a day every single day? Why wouldn't you take that smart thing you figured out how to do this in an hour? Why wouldn't you spread that across all your hours available? That's just
a simple math problem is if let's say the to the point of the numbers game. All right, if my talented sales closer sees 2 people a day, he's got a 50% closing rate. But if I overwhelm him and give him 6, he's got a 20% closing rate. What would you rather take?
Definitely the 20% rate.
Yeah, because he's got another deal. He has literally one more deal a day. Yeah. So like that's a numbers game thing. Yeah. His, from a KPI standpoint, his closing rate went down, but I believe that you give a good salesperson more to do, they keeps them moving. Like that's kind of like a good salesperson's worst enemy is like inactivity. So like, just like, oh yeah, like a slow week, well, I got like just a few leads this week, but we got a couple deals. Like I'd rather keep that guy super busy because he's just gonna like turn it into stuff, keep him constantly confident and firing and talking. So yeah, we make those dials. So what we do is we turn those dials into appointments. So what I was doing at one point was I was taking those appointments and then selling them to people. But what I was finding is that most people, where I would think that, yeah, these are great leads, great appointments I'm selling to you. I would get the, hey man, leads, I went there and they weren't interested. Well, yeah, because your pitch was terrible. Right. It was funny because some of the clients that I had, it would be like, they would say like, oh, these leads aren't great. But then I'm like, but I use the same lead process to get you. Because that's what's great about this process is I use it for myself to then book new clients because I'm doing full, So what I decided to do is take it one step further. We set the appointments. Our client, who's the expert in their field, goes and speaks with the client, whether it's through Zoom, in person, depends on the process or who it is. They deliver their proposal. They deliver their contract. We then step back in and we take 6 to 7 points of contact after that to help see the deal through. So I'm full cycle with you. Basically, I optimize your sales process. I become a sales partner and, kind of take you, make sure that your deal, not only do you get the appointment, I help you close it. Yeah. I've strictly focused on the B2B space because it's kind of, it's easier for me to generate leads in that space. So ideally I like, my clients are ideally like commercial real estate, sales as a service businesses, logistics companies, that type of thing. Yeah.
Going down that same vein of what would you say your number one rule of sales is for you, for what you do?
Number one rule is that has always been all leads are shit. Yeah. That's kind of goes back to all leads are bad leads until it's my job as a salesperson to create a good opportunity out of a bunch of leads. Yeah. So always go into every opportunity with an open mind. If you ever assume that you're just gonna get a deal, you're gonna absolutely fail. In my career, I've had times where it's like I've gone into something like, oh, it's a family member, or it's a friend. This is easy. I'm just gonna give them the quote and let them, ask them when we're gonna start.
Yeah, let them run with it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, my cousin shops my quote. What happened? It's because I didn't do my job as a salesperson. I didn't lock that thing in. So I always approach everything whether it's a friend, a family member, a stranger, someone that doesn't look like they have a single dollar to their name. I always approach it the same way that, give them create the value, create the sense of urgency, help them get to the point where they want to buy.
Yeah, and how important is creating value in sales? I think that's probably one of the most crucial points.
Yeah, it is literally the most important because if there's no value, there's no why even buy? Yeah.
Yeah, there's no why, there's no want to, there's no need to. Yeah. What about urgency for you? You mentioned urgency. How important is that in sales?
Yes. So people tend to misunderstand how urgency works. They think that the urgency is I'm going to give them a price deduction and say hey, this price deduction is only good for today. Yeah. That's one, everyone sees through that. Yeah. It's completely oh yeah, sure, if I don't come back tomorrow, you're not going to just keep giving the deal. You're not going to give me the way you create proper urgency is you've built this value and then you talk about their life moving forward without this value. Yeah. So the urgency is if I live one more day without this product, I'm missing out on this opportunity. So it's not that this deal goes away tomorrow. It's, hey, tomorrow I don't have this. Yeah. That's proper urgency. So that's how you set that up is painting your product as a solution to the pain that they're feeling. And then hey, without this, if you were just simply giving Tylenol to someone that just drank too much, if you were trying to sell them, the way you properly sell that to them is hey, this will make your head ache. How you feel right now will stop an hour after you take this. So if you wait 3 hours to take this, now you're waiting, you got a headache for 4 hours versus just doing it now. Yeah. That's proper urgency.
100%. Yeah, no, proper urgency. It's definitely crucial. I mean, and I think it's underrated potentially in sales. Like newer guys may not understand it fully yet.
Yeah.
So it's important, and not to put that false pressure on an individual where it's like, hey, do it tonight, or do it today, and I'll do it for this price. Because people see through that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I like that a lot, and that's so true. With with your products, how do you like to? I mean, I know you talked about painting pictures of what life would be without, but how do you like to create the urgency for your clients and for your specific, rather than using Tylenol as an example?
Yeah.
How do you like to paint the picture for yourself?
Absolutely. It's the same thing is helping them understand, like with remodeling. It's because remodeling, there's a lot of high pressure sales agencies that work in the home services business, like roofing, siding, windows, where they kind of come in, and it's usually that they're structuring around like that. If we don't, you've got this sale, it's 50% off labor. Like just once, already that's a nonsense idea. The idea like, oh, so you're gonna pay, what you're saying is you're gonna pay your guys working half to work at my house. Like, obviously it's, because they have a built up margin and they're offering this discount to like give you that incentive to buy now. So we got this sale for the month of November, 50% off labor. I'll double the coupon, give you an additional 50%. So, if you buy now, but only the coupon's only good for today.
Yeah.
Like,
and
then next month they have the same 50% off labor sale. And then the month after that, they're the same sale. So the way I structure my sense of urgency in construction is around the idea of like, hey, we're remodeling, your home's gonna be the way you want it to look. If we start now, it's not that I'm going to give you a better deal. It's just like it'll be done sooner. Yeah. Like, do you want to have, I've got a client and we're wrapping up in Hyde Park. It's like, do you want this thing done for Gasparilla? Yeah. Like that was my pitch in December. It's like, we get started now. When your friends and family come over to Gasparilla, everything's done. Yep. That's the sense of urgency. It's not it's the final product being completed. And then with the sales agency, it's if I'm offering to grow your business, you waiting another day, just another day with business as usual.
Yeah, 100%.
So we get you, fighting your inactivity is my sense of urgency.
Yeah, that's the same thing with us. Like for me, it's, we deal with a lot of weddings, and it's fighting against that. Let's wait on this. Our wedding's a year out. It's like, no, knock it out now. So during your wedding process, it's not stressful. Your wedding processes can be very stressful. Getting married, going through all of those ins and outs of getting a caterer, getting a wedding dress, getting the venue, getting the wedding planner, getting the desserts, getting all of that and getting the suit. All of that is stressful. And so why would you want to? You're here now. We're doing this. We measure you out. Let's knock this out so you guys are not stressed.
Yeah.
And that is the sense of urgency with those guys for sure. What would you say? Earlier you kind of talked a little bit about painting pictures. I love to tell stories in sales. I think stories are so valuable. How much do you tell stories and client stories in the past that you've worked on to kind of make your client, feel like, hey, I'm like somebody you've worked with in the past. And also just kind of build that value for them. How much do you like to tell stories?
Storytelling is a big part of what we do, but storytelling isn't as white and black as like simply, oh, here is me, story about me fishing, or, telling an allegory about how my sports team did this or something like that, which is, I think a lot of people feel like that's storytelling. So if they're not doing that, they're not doing the right thing. You can tell the story in lots of different ways. It could just be how you structure your sales process in general. It could just be the process of how they talked to you, met with you, got the measurements, got the proposal, got the actual sales presentation. The sales presentation itself can be structured in a story, a beginning, middle, and end, where it all kind of ties together. You can make their experience with you the story. Yeah. Because what we do, there is an element of what we do is we are creating the experience. They can buy a roof, they can buy a suit, they can buy a full cycle sales solution anywhere. There's lots of people that offer what we do. But ultimate thing, when people spend money, what they want to feel is an elevated status at all times. Like if they're going to spend the money, whether it's on a pack of gum, on a very nice suit, they want to know that like, hey, the amount of money I spent, I got that feeling back in my own elevated sense of self. So as long as I think the story that you're telling is about them, whether it's an actual story or just how you're making them feel like the king or queen that they want to be in their own experience with you. Yeah, that's how you elevate the experience for the client.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's so true because ultimately, I think a big mistake that a lot of sales guys make is that potentially making the sales experience about themselves. And everyone's got an ego. Everyone's got a sense of self, right? So it's really being able to become a fantastic facilitator of somebody else's wants and needs. In my opinion, one of the things that I look to, I think this is probably one of the most crucial skills in sales, personally, is presence. When you're with a client and when you're with them, you're truly present. You're not picking up the phone and talking to somebody else in between in your conversation. I don't care who calls me in my sales interaction. I'm ignoring that call because I'm with somebody and I'm fully present with them. And I'm trying to understand everything I can about that individual in front of me and really lock in what they're looking for and what I can help them with. And that comes from an immense amount of presence to be able to listen and understand. What do you think about that?
They're spending their money on a suit, on a roof, on a car, on an insurance policy. But they decided to go with you because they want to spend their time with you. Mm-hmm. So being present, showing them that respect of being present with them in the allotted amount of time that you're delivering the service is what they're looking for. It's how you elevate their sense of self-worth. It's how you create that lifelong partner, lifelong customer is showing them that kind of respect of like, I'm really engaged. I really understand what you're saying. That's a true storyteller in sales. Actually, it's a scientific fact. When you get into sales studies, the salespeople that talk less sell more because they're like you said, they're not making it about themselves. Making it about your own. I'm the best because I'm the best is like you want everything to be about them, the focus to be on them.
Yeah, I think it was Alex Hormozy, and I love Alex. I don't know how much you know about him, but I think it was Alex Hormozy who said, the best salespeople in the world, if I could create a perfect salesperson, all he would do would ask questions. Yeah. He would never make statements. And I just took that. I listened to that and I was like, that's facts. Because I'm a true believer in asking questions, asking a lot of good questions in your interactions when you are working with a client. And in every interaction, in your interactions with your wife and your interactions with your kids, is asking questions and understanding how can I be better going forward, and understanding what are your needs today, how can I help, being fully present. So that's just a crucial, in my opinion, one of the most crucial things about sales. Anything else that you want to cover, like any other like sales topics that like jump to your head that we could dive into a little bit?
I think little things that you can do every day to get better at your craft is trying to put yourself in situations where you're doing things like this, where you're able to talk and practice your communication skills, work on filler words, and then also practicing on everyday interactions. I always try to, when I go to the gas station or go to the grocery store and I'm checking out, engage the person behind the counter, ask them a couple questions, try to get them to smile, look them in the eye when I talk to them, not just at the kiosk, and I use that to kind of practice my fundamental sales skills of asking, being always trying to be like alert intellectually and emotionally, where it's I'm not caught off guard when someone actually asks me something that's kind of thought provoking. I'm ready to go. Little things like that to the new salespeople that you can, or even the veterans that you can train yourself. And then as far as other topics, what comes to your mind?
No, I do absolutely love that. Like, I think everyday education, everyday studying, because the reality of sales is, I think it's deeply rooted in psychology, and being personal and understanding who you got in front of you. So that's such a vast topic, right? Because everyone is so unique in their buying processes and how they like to go about things, how they like to buy things. So really diving into sales and becoming a true student of sales, I'll never consider as good as I get, as good as I think I am. I'll never consider myself a sales master because there's just or like a master closer or whatever, because I just think there's just so much to learn. And the second I call myself a master closer, or I say I'm the best salesperson, in the war or what in the company or whatever, is the second I fall off and the second that I stop studying.
Well, I would say that I understand what you're saying there, but if you become a journeyman electrician, which is the highest level of being an electrician, it doesn't mean you stop learning.
Yeah.
But you have the title of hey, I'm a leader in this field.
Yep.
So becoming a sales expert or a sales master doesn't mean you stop training, you stop learning. It just means that people view you as the authority.
Sure.
You're one of the top 5% that the other 95% look up to.
Yep.
What do you think about people that say, I don't want to be too salesy? I want to get into sales, but I don't want to be too salesy. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of a problem. I mean, sales being pestering. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be I don't want to be I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be pestering. I don't want to be too salesy, right? I think it's all the same thing. It's all a fear of, a fear of rejection. But additionally, I think with that particular topic, ultimately as salespeople, we are supposed to be helping.
Yeah.
We're helpers. We're of the service of our clients, right? So everything I'm doing, whether I'm calling somebody, a lot to make sure that they get in for this service, I look at and I view it as I'm reaching out to help you. I'm not pestering. I'm not being too salesy. None of those things. Even if I call somebody 7 days in a row, I'm not pestering you. I'm simply trying to help you, acquire the product and service that you inquired about and that you mentioned that you need. So I'm ultimately making it more convenient to work with me.
I view people that people in the sales industry or getting into the sales industry that make that statement. As a sales leader, salesperson that's trained salespeople in the past, I immediately recognize that term as I've got to beat this out of them.
Yeah.
Not physically, not literally, but I've got to actually get them to reframe how they view sales, because that term, what that tells me is as soon as any kind of objection hits, they're tuck tail and run. And objections are, dealing with addressing objections is the core. Basically an objection from a client, a prospect. Every objection, whether it's, I got to ask my wife, or I've got the dog needs his medicine, or I've got I'm waiting for taxes, I'm waiting for this. Every single objection is essentially them saying, hey, the value you just created, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's not, it's them being politely saying, I don't believe you, or I'm not certain that you're going to deliver.
Yeah.
You feel like you're going to deliver, but I just don't. I've been in this situation before, and it doesn't work out that way. So that's what the objection is. You overcoming that objection as a sales expert helps them feel like, okay, this person's dedicated to making sure it's delivered.
Yeah.
So the more objections you overcome, that's part of the process of getting them to the point of feeling like, because for some people, a $50,000 vehicle, that's we're not sales guys. Sales guys like you and I, we see the price tag, we're like, let's just sign. I don't care. Let's get on the next thing. We're like, we don't need that emotional help. But some people, it's like a major emotional decision to them, and they got to. They need that person to kind of take them through that, take them through the helping them emotionally get ready for it. And that's usually what the 10, 15, 30, 55 objections are.
Yeah.
As long as they don't say, never call me again.
Yeah.
They need your help to kind of get them across the finish line.
Yeah.
So that's when I hear that, when people say they don't want to be too pushy, I'm like, you're just not a salesperson.
Yeah.
Pestering is not being pushy. Pestering is being an amateur.
Yeah.
Pestering is you just kind of filling the air with your words just to fill, just to get your voice out there. Whereas actually pursuing the deal is you making them feel comfortable with this, not necessarily just with yourself, but also with the decision they're going to make. It's like, hey, this is okay. After you spend this money, everything will be good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. And this conversation was awesome. I'd love to have you on again and go deeper.
Cool. Well, I'm glad it was slightly entertaining.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we aimed for. Slightly entertaining.
Yeah.
Not too much. But Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. Oh, before we do that, one last question. Why do you dress up?
So I feel like as a salesperson, you're kind of a leader, and you're because people, that buy from you, they're looking for you to help them improve or feel a certain way. And as a leader, I feel like you should set a certain example. And dressing not like a slob is a way of kind of showing that hey, that elevated status, like we're gonna help elevate your status as a client. Make you feel the way you want to feel. Like I take care of myself. That means I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that, and that's a perfect way to frame it for a sales guy. So beautiful, awesome conversation, Ryan. Let's have a cheers.
Okay,
with
cool.
style. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you.